Laurel and the Wind by Gaelan Gilbert, illustrated by Ned Gannon. Laurel grew up on a sailboat amidst islands of trees that came down to the edge of the windy sea. She had always been on the boat, and she had always been in the wind. Sometimes the wind blew from the north, and it was wet and cold. Sometimes it blew from the south, and it was dry and warm. Sometimes at night the wind whispered gently through the portholes and rigging, while tides lapped at the sides of the hull. Sometimes the wind rushed and howled as storms thrashed the sea and snapped the sail back and forth with power. Laurel liked the wind during the day most of all, when it was fresh and strong, and pushed the clouds forward like a flock of sheep. Sometimes she smelled a sweet fragrance on the wind. She wondered where the winds had been. Did they come from far away? One night, as breezes uncovered the starry sky, Laurel dreamed a wonderful dream. She saw an ancient city across the world, a city whose buildings of stone grew like trees to the edge of the sparkling sea. In the avenues, people in long garments walked through colorful markets and shaded courtyards into plazas of warm sunlight. Laurel heard fountains laughing fluently and saw children run in the floating mist. The city rested on a peninsula of 7 hills, where 3 waters met. From the orchards and fields beyond the city walls, sweet scents of soil and citrus coiled and rose over vineyards and rivers. Clouds Laurel knew she had seen before raced like sheep across an azure sky. A fresh breeze flicked flags that flew from tile-roofed towers, and gulls hung high overhead. On the shimmering bay, sails filled and light sparked. Laurel saw it, glinting from 1,000 domes. A steady breath blew fresh from the cold mountains of the north, through lush valleys in the east, up from southern sands and across the middle sea, kissing Laurel's cheeks. The winds spun as 3, then as 1. In the center of the city, like a mountain of sculpted stone, rose a building larger than any Laurel had ever known. Within 100 windows, voices rose in song and filled its domes of light. Great bells rang out, shaking trees and startling birds into flight. In a forest of marble pillars, under a golden sky, Laurel saw a line of figures brightly robed, processing to the altar with candles, crosses, and censers billowing a sweet fragrance in the shafted light. A single voice then prayed, naming those who still breathe and those who no longer do. Laurel saw hands raise an air cloth up and up again, air pulling the scent of bread and wine, vestments rustling, wick flames fluttering. Suddenly, the wind rushed through branches of olive and oak on 7 hills. She heard the wind in the leaves lift up its voice like many waters, streaming to the stars over the garden where God walked in the cool of the day. Laurel looked up to see. There, he walks and calls out for lost Adam. After long lulled centuries, he finds and awakens him from dying dreams of dark bones and stone locked. The Lord reaches across galaxies for Adam's hand. Filling lungs, he bends low as a man and heaves up all time from below, huffing a single breath as Hades exhales a whimpering blast that flaps his white robe like a flag. A field of faces, their eyelids flutter in the thawing dawn, and glowing light warms them. Blood flows in secret roots under new-spun skin. Eyes see again, laughing tears. Laurel looked down. Her boat was sailing through the air, high above the city and the fields and the sea. She saw winds flying out from the doors of the domed church, through lush valleys, over hot sands, and into cold mountains. He was bringing life to the world, the one who breathed his last on the cross to bring back life from death. She breathed the air of the wind, and felt a soft song in her, the life of breath. When she awoke, Laurel had tears in her eyes. The thing she had seen, was such beauty possible? She laughed because her tears tasted like the salty sea. Golden light filled the boat's cabin. She heard the sail flap and luff and swell with the breeze. She thought of his white robe, flaring and filling with the breath of life. Outside on the deck, Laurel smelled a sweet fragrance on the wind, as the morning sun rose to warm the waters and awaken the trees. And she took a deep breath. The end.